your Dallas Mavericks, who started out really well. 8-2 thus far. Currently sits them, I believe, second in the West on the standings.
Second best record in the entire NBA.
And so with that being the case, it makes you want to ask, how real is this? Honestly, you look at the record thus far, and it's a good one. And, of course, you got to play the teams that are on your schedule. However, people will point to the fact that this has been a pretty soft schedule. There's only one win against a team over 500, and that brings me to this question, gentlemen. Are you buying into this team as being one of the top 4 seeds in the West? And not necessarily just saying their record-wise, but how good are they truly in this West that is looked at like a murderer's row? It seems like there are 14 to 15 teams in the Western Conference that are trying to win this year. And with that being the case, that means that there's a lot of teams that are equipped and gunning for an opportunity at a few spots when it comes to the playoffs, and particularly with home court advantage. You buying in, Blake?
I think murderer's row is a good way to put it as the Western Conference stands. Minus the Nuggets, I got the standings right here in front of me. We don't have enough time for that, but I could go through every team and tell you a flaw that team has. So I think that every team has a pro and con, but for the Mavs, I love what they did this offseason. What were their 2 biggest weaknesses? Defense, rebounding. Nico said in the post-game press conference, sitting there with him, asked him, what is going to be addressed? Defense and rebounding. And for once in Dallas sports, an owner said something and it came to fruition. What does he go and do? He doesn't draft the sexiest pick or the guard that can score 30 a night. He gets Derek Lively, who averaged under 5 points a game. Hey, newsflash, Mavs fans. We don't need another guy to score the ball. We got Luka, Doncic, and Kyrie Irving that are very good at putting the ball in the bucket. We needed guys that could protect the rim, that could catch alley-oops, that could be help side defense. And what do we get? Derek Lively. And I got to add a great addition, Grant Williams, Derrick Jones Jr., being both great 3-and-D guys. Both are actually shooting above their career highs when it comes to efficiency on the three-point line, 2-pointers, cutting to the ball, being selfless. So I could go on and on about the Mavs here. I mean, they've been a pleasant surprise this year.
All right, the question is, are they a top 4 team in the West? They have been all year. Until they fall out, they're not. And again, the teams, like you mentioned, are murderer's row. Phoenix Suns are 4-6 right now. The Clippers.
Don't
Clippers.
get me started.
Well, like I said, these are all James Harden with the Clippers now. You got 4 future Hall of Famers all playing together. They're 3-6 right now.
On 4 with Harden.
I go on and on. The Kings, the surprise team from last year, they're 4-4 right now. The Warriors are only 6-5 right now. The Dallas Mavericks are 8-2. They started season 4-0, and the biggest difference in this team, they are the most clutch team in the NBA.
Bingo.
What was the problem with them last year? They lost more last possession games than any team in the league last year. And I mentioned this summer before the Mavericks completed all their moves before the season even started. I said, you know what? This is before the Rangers even went anywhere.
Yeah.
This is before the All-Star break. I said the Mavericks reminded me of the Rangers. The Rangers in 2022. Now, I didn't expect the Rangers to win the World Series, but I said that team lost more one-run games. It was hard to watch, just like the Mavericks. Last possession games, whether making a shot or getting beat by a shot, they were hard to watch. And all they needed to do was step up the defense, because that's what J. Kidd's, his whole philosophy is about defense, and get the rebounding. So they got these young guys. This is another thing. I mentioned the old Clippers, right? Golden State's an old team as well.
Old.
Phoenix could be considered old because KD is old. All right. And even though Book is somewhat young, everybody outside of Dwight Powell and Kyrie, everybody on the Mavericks roster is on the age of 25. We're talking about Grant Williams is 24, the same age as
You
Luka.
mean the guys that are in the rotation?
The ones
right
in the
now.
rotation.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the guys never coming off the bench. I'm talking about the guys you depend on. Even Derrick Jones Jr., airplane mode, who's starting.
27,
and everybody,
I
what the
believe.
hell is he doing? This dude he was the NBA slam dunk champ in 2020, but nobody watched it because of the pandemic. And who watched the slam dunk anyway? But this guy flies off of the ground. He's dunking all the time. He's shooting threes. What you're watching is like, this is not the same team from last year. And Luka and Kyrie both are scoring at will. And they're not doing it at the exact same time. And both of them are locked in, and they play well together.
Okay, so there's a lot of things that we've went through here. And look, there's definitely something to be said about the fact that closing out games is going to be a better situation for them.
That's the difference.
You didn't get enough games between Kyrie and Luka, and you can see that they've worked through some of these things. They've had tough conversations, as Kyrie's mentioned in some of his media availability, on what they want to do in some of those situations. And of course, Jason Kidd is involved in that. But where do they go in these tough situations? And then also, it goes without saying when you talk about the Mavericks, Luka Doncic is a monster when it comes to everything offensively. The things that are notable for me that have definitely helped them a good amount in these first 10 games, they are abnormally fast.
Yes, the
pace.
Because
That's the game plan.
30 teams every season come in and say that they want to play faster. And very rarely do we actually see that change happen. In fact, it's happened with these Mavericks before where they've said, Jason Kidd has come out and said, we want to play faster. And you look at them and they're 27th at pace. As of this moment, they rank 5th in pace in the league.
Wow.
And I find that to be amazing. You see the dedication to getting out running, to hit, those hit forward passes, particularly when you have Kyrie on the court, when you have Josh Green on the court. Those guys are getting out and they're running. And so I find that interesting, and I'm monitoring that because you saw that start out high, and then it kind of fell back. You've seen it jump up again. And that's kind of flowed with the course of the challenges of the other teams that they're playing. As we mentioned, it's been a soft schedule thus far. And the teams that have been really good, they've had some issues with. Hello, Denver Nuggets. Hello, Toronto Raptors, who I wouldn't even say are very good. The thing that for me also is defense with this team.
Yep.
And Derek Lively seems to be a lot of the defense. Defensive rating-wise, they are 23rd. And that's not going to be good enough when we start talking about playing against good teams, because the offense is elite, but you need your defense to be better than that low.
I saw a number where they're 15th. Where you see?
So that's
I'm checking Basketball Reference at this moment.
I got you, CA. So 15th, that's actually a silver lining, is their second half defense. So Jason Kidd's been making some adjustments, which I think has honestly been one of the biggest attributions to the team being good. Like you said, 23rd, 24th, around there, and then halftime. I mean, it's better than 24th.
And they were 28th last season. The deal about this team is they got guys who are defenders, as opposed to when Jason Kidd inherited.
They have more defenders than they had, but this is not a team that I would say is inclined
they're not
towards
finished
defense.
yet either. They got to make another move if they're going to go somewhere deep in the playoffs.
Sure.
They have one more move to make. But where I'm going with this is when Jason Kidd inherited Rick Carlisle's team, that was the most efficient offense of all time. He had to get guys to buy into playing defense, and they did the second half of that season, which is why they wound up at the Western Conference Finals. It wasn't the offense because they already had that. It was the buying into the zone defenses that they were using. This year, this offseason, they said, we're going to get defenders, not guys who need their touches. Now, they still need somebody more bigger inside. That's where Denver ate them up. Denver's showing you why they're the world champions. And Toronto are a very physical, defensive-minded team, and that's where they are. They're long, and they're all inside. That's where the Mavericks are missing a piece or two. But at the same time, there's a reason why he's using a lot of depth, and that's because they want to keep that pace up. You can't just have the same 5 or 6 guys if you're going to have that fast-paced offense. Defensively, it's easier to rebound when you're not fouling. It's easier to, in other words, you're not making stupid fouls. You're a better defender. These guys that they've got now are guys that say, this is what I do. Derek Lively says, this is what I do. Omax, who's going to be in for Max Cleveland because Cleveland's got a bad toe injury, this is what I do. Grant Williams, this is what I do. Grant Williams, by the way, shocking everybody hitting those threes. They never let him shoot those threes with the Celtics. So what everybody's like, wow, this looks like a completely different team. Well, if they stay healthy and if they make that one more move and we expect them to be another defender, again, there's a reason they look different, and there's a reason why they're 8-2 right now.
So ultimately, go ahead.
You're good. I would say the Mavs, in all honesty, could have 3 different players win an award this season. If it keeps on pace for how we're going. I mean, I know the obvious one is MVP.
But I think that's kind of unfair to assume that it keeps on pace because, again, your schedule thus far has been the softer portion of it, and ultimately you're going to level out.
Oh, hold on. Let's talk about this schedule. I'm glad you brought this up. You're talking about the team's records, right?
I'm talking about the quality of play, but sure.
At the same time, they have a very difficult schedule because 10 of their first 16 games are on the road. These guys are coming out of a suitcase, and they're still 8-2. The second half of the season, in March and April, when they will have a whole lot of home games, is when the schedule will be in their favor. Right now, I'm like shocked that they're 8-2. I would think they would have more of a record like Golden State, 6-5, because of this. I mean, this is a crazy. They're like every other game is a road game. It's insane. Home, road, home, road. It hadn't happened like that except for 1982 with the Mavericks.
And I mean, it's worth giving them their credit for being 8-2, whether or not you're playing, teams that are whatever softer schedule, whatever words you want to use. You still have to go out and win the games, and they have. But ultimately, when we're talking about top 4 team, I'm not willing to say that yet, particularly if we're looking at where we project them being towards the end of the season. But I am higher on them than where we came into the season. So who are the 4
teams in front of them?
When we talk about,
we're talking just West or overall?
Because we are talking about the West.
Just
right
West,
now.
Okay.
If we're talking about the West, obviously we can talk about the
because you don't project
champion.
the Mavericks to be the top 4.
Not as of right now. Not as of right now.
So who are your top 4 for? Even though, like I said, the Mavericks have not been not top 4.
Certainly.
They've always been the top 4 this whole season.
Yes, absolutely.
So who are your top 4?
When we talk about the record, but when I'm talking about these teams, I still obviously the Nuggets,
top best teams.
I'm giving it to you. I'm still going with the Phoenix Suns. I think that they will figure things out. This is a team that has a lot of they've had a lot of injuries, and 2, they need to put these things together. I'm interested in the Pelicans, but obviously you just played the Pelicans really well. That's a team that's really disheveled as of right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder have figured some things out, and they are just now integrating Chet Holmgren. So you give them a season, and I think that that's going to be problematic. And Shea, obviously, you see what Shea has, and they have a lot of depth.
MVP candidate.
And if we're starting to project out the idea of what additions can be made, they have so much capital to go and make those moves to maybe condense some of those younger players into more veterans that can help them. So those are 3 teams. I would not overlook the Warriors, and I still think the Kings are an incredible team. So I think that all those teams factor in, and I put them in that same place. But coming into the season, I was looking at the Mavs as definitely sitting in that 7 through 10 range of probably having to play their way in. Now I'm looking at them as around the top of that, if not above that, in that top 6 situation where you do not have to play your way in. And I think that's a testament to what they've done thus far. And especially if you can see development from Derek Lively, that's where it grows.
Do I think this pace is going to keep up? Probably not. Do I think they're going to be the number 2 seed? And I think regular season standings and power rankings or how well you're going to do in the playoffs are 2 different things. I'll tell you right now, the Suns, not worried about them. Not at all. No bench. Players got no cohesion. Players in and out of the lineup. Best ability is availability. And Bradley Beal's out one game. Kevin Durant the next. So honestly,
Booker too this year. I'm shocked.
Booker been out every other game. I don't know if he's even played more than one game. Mavs, Suns play a 7-game series tomorrow, or even in 3 months from now. I put my money on the Mavs. The only team that scares me in the Western Conference is the Denver Nuggets because they have a big that can dominate down low. They have 2 guards that know what they're doing on the wing, and then they have Michael Porter Jr. that will shoot at will. Timberwolves don't scare me. Rockets young, Thunder young. Warriors is just Steph out there running for his life. I mean, their second highest scorer is Klay Thompson averaging 16, and then it's Kuminga averaging 12. I mean, it's been the Steph show. He's doing great at his old age, but I mean,
that's an old team.
We're not giving out pity points right now. This isn't Pop Warner. I mean, the only teams I really see compete, I think the Lakers will turn it up in the later season. I believe the Kings will turn it up, but I mean, I think it's the Mavericks to lose. Do I think they'll keep up this pace? Probably not, but I think they'll be right in that playoff push for a top 4 team.
The teams I look at are the Mavericks have to look out for, and again, I look at the Mavericks. I predicted for the season top 6. I figure it's 6 or 5. The Nuggets, of course. I'm not sleeping at all on Oklahoma City. I think, boy, that team right there is a team to watch out for. And I'm also looking at, I'm looking at the Kings to be good again as well. I don't think last year was a fluke, So I'm looking at the Nuggets, the Kings, Oklahoma City, and I just might put in the Suns. But I'm like you. I don't trust their health. I just don't trust their health. It's like I don't trust the health of the Miami Dolphins.